Good morning. My name is Marina Mahmud,
And my name is Eber Romo.
and we are both juniors at the University of Detroit Mercy in Detroit, Michigan. I'm a DACA recipient from Israel. I came to the United States at the age of 3 and never knew the truth about my immigration status until senior year of high school, when my lawyer told me that the reason why I couldn't attend my senior spring break trip to Punta Cana was because I was a DACA recipient. After finding out through an email, I asked my parents why they always told me I had dual citizenship instead of the truth. The reason was that they were paranoid, and I would share my status and somehow get in trouble or deported. I understood my parents' paranoia, but I also felt silenced. It took nearly 10 years to find my truth. When I looked into DACA, I found out that former President Donald Trump was attempting to end DACA, which now caused me to feel panicked. That summer, my lawyer offered for me to either get married or move to another country to get my green card and then come back to the United States. Now, instead of deciding what theme I wanted my dorm to be, I was thinking about getting married or deciding what country I wanted to move to at the age of 17, a country I'd never been to nor spoke the main language of all alone.
I was born in a small city in Mexico by the name of León, Guanajuato. And it wasn't until I was about 2 years old when my mom made the risky decision to flee an abusive relationship. The decision was risky because it meant crossing over the border illegally. Since then, we've lived in the Metro Detroit area, and my childhood was pretty average growing up. However, once high school came around, there were a few unexpected wake-up calls. I had grown up with the knowledge that I was not from here, but it wasn't until my friends had started getting their driver's licenses and jobs when it really started to hit. We had attempted to file a DACA form at the time. However, money was short at the time. My mom was unemployed as well at the time, so during that time period, I just remember looking for any sort of option that I could find to start getting my life back on track and on the same track as everyone else's life. But it was to very little avail, as there weren't many options and still aren't many options for undocumented immigrants. And as time went by and I started to apply for colleges, I had finally hired a lawyer to file my form, but it was during the time of the Trump presidency. And before I was able to submit my form, the program was rescinded. For those of you who are not familiar with DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, it is a policy that grants Social Security and immunity from deportation for young undocumented individuals who came to the United States as children. Even though the program itself offers many benefits, it leaves us in limbo.
When I started my freshman year, the university considered me an international student and wanted to charge me the international student rate. Nobody at the university knew how to help me because nobody understood what DACA was. I was completely alone. Shortly after, 2 years ago now, I was introduced to campus minister, Sister Erin McDonald. I asked her about the spring break trip to El Paso, Texas, to work with immigrants on the border, and this is when I told her I was a DACA recipient. The first time I shared the truth about my immigration status out loud. She told me about IFTJ in the fall and how it focuses on immigration advocacy. I felt silence for so long, and I felt the call to experience the other side of immigration. I applied for the Dorothy Kazel Scholarship for IFTJ and was lucky enough to be one of the few to be picked. When I got to IFTJ, all the Dorothy Kazel scholars met together in a room. This was the first time I met anyone who was a DACA recipient, and it was the most surreal experience. They were strangers to me at first, but all of a sudden they weren't. They understood what it was like to have DACA and to go through all the motions of being in the immigration system. During my weekend, I met countless amounts of people who had extraordinary accomplishments at their universities in terms of supporting their immigrant students. Meanwhile, I still had no support system at Detroit Mercy.
At Detroit Mercy, I was one of a handful of students who had opened up about my status as an undocumented immigrant. Instead of being neglected assistance, I was offered both a place for me to pursue my career as an architect, as well as an opportunity to help build a community on campus for students that face the same struggle of being undocumented college students.
During the weekend at IFTJ, I found myself making mental notes of what I could accomplish at Detroit Mercy if I take advice from the people I met and heard from. Detroit Mercy has a chance to support their DACA and undocumented students. I had a spark flare up in me for wanting to speak up and accomplish something extraordinary. After being silenced for nearly 10 years, I realized that I shouldn't have to be embarrassed or worried about my status. I'm a DACA recipient who has endured so much, and I deserve to be in this country, treated fairly, and have a voice.
And this is... And this is why me and many people choose to look in the direction of activism for fairness. As activists, we look in the direction of unity, acceptance, and justice. We speak for the communities that get treated unfairly. It is important to encourage social justice in order to see change.
I ran to Sister Erin and I told her that I wanted to make a difference on campus. There was no consistency for the support of immigrant students, so we started to work on making things happen. The mental notes I took that weekend, I made them into actual notes. I contacted my new DACA friends at other universities for advice on what their schools had to offer. I got into contact with Jose Cabrera again, Director of Education Advocacy for Migration at ISN. He was the first person I met at IFTJ, and I started to get advice from him. It was only Sister Erin and I to try Mercy for a while, trying to maneuver through starting a new organization with just us two. It was a slow progress, but I remained faithful in getting started. Then the COVID pandemic happened, but saw the progress we made was put on hold. However, during that time, I was able to meet a fellow DACA recipient, Adriana, to try Mercy, who had as much of a passion as I did. Her and I, along with Erin, started to form an organization that focuses on supporting immigrants on campus and being a safe space. We attended monthly student organization calls with Jose and students at other campuses. We took even more notes and asked questions. As we planned our goals for the organization, we were able to meet other DACA recipients who wanted to make a difference on campus. Through Zoom calls every week and forming relationships with each other through a computer screen, we finally created the Titan Dreamers organization.
Helping in the creation of Titan Dreamers as an undocumented student 2 years ago was just the beginning of this unwinding journey for me. As of September of this year, my wait was finally over. I felt the weight of fear from deportation fall off as I received a letter from the USCIS saying that I had been approved for my DACA form after all of these years. Since then, so many doors have opened up for me, including acquiring a driver's license, a social security number, and immunity from deportation. Although this time span in my life has been triumphant, I still have to tackle the usual responsibilities of a college student. On top of a presidency at my school of the Latin community, and a core theme this year was learning to adapt to situations as they come. I literally overslept yesterday morning and I missed my original ride to DC, and I refused to miss this opportunity because my whole journey had led up to this point. With the help of my delegation, I was able to book a flight 3 hours beforehand, and I luckily made it here safely. Yeah. We are all capable of achieving whatever we set our minds to as long as we have the desire for it.
Now, I'm not here to talk too much about myself, which I really don't mind doing. I'm here to share how you can start your own club or organization on campus from the ground up. To start off, show of hands if you have a club or organization on campus for immigration and keep them up. Higher. Okay, so for those students whose hands aren't up, take a moment and look around to see whose hands are up. See if you recognize any students or remember their eyes and masks. If you're passionate about starting something from the ground up like I did, it starts with the very people in this room. Take my advice. Make new friends and ask them what they've accomplished on campus. Take down notes and take down their information as well. Go to campus and start to make things happen. How? All it takes is yourself and your drive. Reach out to campus ministry or any faculty or professors you trust and who would care about immigration. Find other students, start meetings, and think about the goals you want to achieve. Join ISN's monthly organization calls where students meet to discuss what their campus is doing. This is a place where you can ask questions and take down advice. Some questions to ask yourself when starting the meetings. Do you want a support group, advocacy on campus, both? Do you want DACA and undocumented students only, or do you want to let allies join in? Once your goals have been set, start planning an Undocu Week. A whole week on campus, promote your group and goals. Think about the events you want to do. Have an event for a Q&A. Ask some speakers to come and share their stories about being an immigrant or their advocacy stories. Even getting an immigration attorney to talk about the legality of immigration. Make flyers to promote Undocu Week. Get in contact with current and past professors and ask them to share the event with their classes. Hint, ask them if they'll offer extra credit to students who will attend. Contact the deans of your colleges. Contact other presidents of clubs and organizations. Word will spread, people will show up and support your hard work. After the Titan Dreamers planned everything for our very first Undocu Week this past March, through only Zoom calls, in the middle of a pandemic, we had nearly 100 people join us for our first day. It was quite the accomplishment.
And we're not done. As someone that is a DACA recipient, person of color, and part of the LGBTQ community, I speak for the thousands of people that get treated unfairly. It is important to encourage social justice in order to see change. It genuinely brings me so much joy and a sense of empowerment being around so many people that want their voices to be heard. It takes doing what every single one of us here is doing today. It takes being open-minded, loving, caring, and motivated to make change. We can all not only be dreamers, but resilient fighters. We fight for our dreams and for the dreams of others. While we're here, let's all take advantage of hearing one another. Let's look forward to building connections, and let's continue to fight for equity among all of our beautiful and diverse communities.
You may feel alone and defeated at times, but the end result is surely one of the best feelings. You're making a difference that's going to impact so many and continue beyond your years at the university. You're setting a future for every new group of immigrants. Eber and I are here to support any and all of you in any way we can. We're always willing to help plan, share our experiences, and answer any questions you may have. Have faith and fight for what you believe in. At the end of the day, your courage is what inspires others to keep fighting and the strength of the ones who are just starting.
Thank you.